What if I told you that the very organ you think is slowly wearing out with age actually has the power to grow stronger the harder you push it? Imagine this: a muscle that never rests, beating more than 100,000 times a day, over 2.5 billion times in a lifetime. Most people assume that such relentless work would lead to exhaustion and failure. But the truth? Your heart is the only muscle that thrives on being challenged. Elite athletes can push their hearts to pump 30 to 40 litres of blood every single minute during peak exercise, nearly 3 times what an average person can achieve. That's not just survival, that's evolution happening inside your chest. And here's the shocking part: your heart can transform too. With consistent training, it adapts, reshapes itself, and becomes a far more efficient engine than you ever imagined. Welcome to the Wellness Way, where we uncover the hidden potential of your body and the science that proves you're capable of more than you've been told. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you'll discover about your heart may completely change how you think about exercise and longevity. If you're ready to unlock your strongest self, hit that subscribe button and support the Wellness Way. Together, we'll keep building healthier, smarter, and stronger lives. When I first started learning about the human body, I thought of the heart in the simplest way possible. To me, it was just a pump. It kept the blood moving, carrying oxygen and nutrients, keeping everything alive. But it was nothing more than a machine that ran quietly in the background. A hard-working one, yes, but still a machine that eventually wears down. That's the way I saw it, until I began to really look at what the heart is capable of, and everything I thought I knew about it changed. Let me start with something shocking. The heart never rests. It beats over 100,000 times in a single day. Stop and think about that. In the time it takes you to go through your normal routine, working, eating, sleeping, your heart is pounding away tirelessly. Multiply that over a lifetime and you get more than 2.5 billion beats. Now here's where it gets even crazier. With every beat, the heart pumps blood through an incredible network of vessels, about 2,000 gallons every single day. That's like running a giant water pump for decades without a single pause. And yet, for the most part, it does it flawlessly. The logical conclusion would be that this kind of relentless work must eventually wear the heart out. But what if I told you that isn't the case? What if the harder you push your heart, the stronger it actually becomes? That idea flipped my perspective upside down, because unlike most machines, the heart doesn't weaken from stress. It adapts, it learns, it grows. It's not just an organ of survival, it's an organ of resilience. Think about the last time you went for a run, climbed a hill, or did any form of intense exercise. You probably felt your chest pounding, your pulse racing, and maybe you even thought, wow, I'm pushing my heart too much. But here's the truth. That very moment is when your heart is doing what it does best. It's adjusting to the challenge. And the more often you give it those challenges, the better it gets at handling them. I used to believe that pushing myself in workouts might strain my heart in dangerous ways. But what I discovered changed my relationship with exercise completely. Your heart is not a fragile object that you need to protect at all costs by avoiding effort. It's a living muscle. And like any muscle, it grows stronger when you train it. The harder you work, the more it adapts. This was a complete reversal of how I used to think. Most of us grow up believing that our body parts wear down over time and that exercise is something we do just to burn calories or stay fit. But the story of the heart is different. With each workout, you're not just burning fat or building endurance, you're literally reshaping your heart into a more efficient version of itself. That blew my mind. Here's what struck me most: the numbers. If you take an untrained but otherwise healthy person and push them to their absolute limit, their heart might pump about 13 to 15 litres of blood per minute at peak exercise. That's already a huge increase compared to rest, when it only pumps around 5 litres per minute. But now compare that to an elite athlete. Their heart, under maximum effort, can pump 30 to 40 litres per minute. That's insane. It's like comparing the horsepower of an everyday sedan to a high-performance race car. And yet both are still just hearts. The difference is one has been trained, challenged and adapted. When I heard that for the first time, it hit me. If an athlete's heart can transform to that level, what does that mean for the rest of us? It means that my own heart isn't fixed in stone. It has potential waiting to be unlocked. It means that every workout is an opportunity to not just improve my fitness, but to physically change one of the most important organs in my body. That realization made exercise feel different. It wasn't just about sweating, counting reps, or burning calories. It became about training the engine that keeps me alive. And here's the kicker. The heart does this in ways that most people never think about. It doesn't add new muscle cells. Those heart muscle fibers you're born with are the only ones you'll ever have. Instead, they grow larger and stronger, a process known as hypertrophy. The cells pack on power, and with consistent exercise, they also build more mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses that generate energy inside every cell. More mitochondria means more energy, which means the heart can contract with greater force without tiring out. On top of that, the heart develops new blood vessels, giving itself a better supply of oxygen and nutrients. When I look at it from this perspective, I realize the heart isn't just adapting, it's upgrading itself. Every run, every bike ride, every swim is like a software update, only this is biological. You're giving your heart new tools, new energy systems, and a stronger foundation. It's like watching a worker who used to lift bricks by hand suddenly get a forklift. The job doesn't just get easier, it becomes far more efficient. That efficiency shows up in ways you can measure. One of the simplest and most powerful signs that your heart is getting stronger is a lower resting heart rate. If your heart used to beat 70 times per minute when you were at rest, but after months of consistent training, it only needs 60 beats to do the same job, that's your proof. Your heart has become more efficient. It no longer needs to work as hard because it's pumping more blood with each beat. I remember reading about an Olympic athlete whose resting heart rate dropped to 27 beats per minute at his peak. At first, that sounded almost scary, like his heart wasn't working enough. But in reality, it was the ultimate sign of efficiency. His heart was so strong, so well trained, that it could supply his entire body with minimal effort. That was the moment I stopped seeing the heart as a fragile machine on the verge of breaking down. Instead, I began to see it as a partner in growth. It wants to be trained. It thrives on challenge. It's almost as if the heart says, "Give me a reason to get better, and I will." When you realize that, exercise no longer feels like a chore. It feels like an investment in one of the most critical parts of who you are. It's not just about vanity, about losing weight or fitting into certain clothes. It's about giving your heart the chance to adapt and become the strongest version of itself. And if the heart, this tireless organ that already does more work than anything else in your body, still has the capacity to improve, then what excuse do we really have not to train it? Every time I step into a workout now, I think of it as giving my heart a gift. I'm not punishing myself with exercise. I'm offering my heart the opportunity to rise to a new level. And in return, it gives me endurance, energy, and life itself. That shift in perspective has changed everything for me. And it all started with the simple but powerful realization that the heart is not just a pump. It's the most resilient muscle I'll ever train. When I first started paying attention to what happens inside the body during exercise, I thought the changes were mostly on the outside. I imagined stronger legs, bigger muscles, and maybe better lungs. But what I never realized until much later was that the most remarkable transformation happens inside the chest, in a muscle I had always taken for granted, the heart. And once I learned how it adapts, I couldn't look at exercise the same way again. The heart is made of 3 layers, but the one that matters most when it comes to change is the myocardium, the thick muscular wall that does all the heavy lifting. At first I thought muscle was muscle. It either grows or it doesn't. But the heart doesn't behave like the biceps or the quads. It has a different set of rules. Unlike skeletal muscle, the muscle cells of the heart can't divide and multiply. You're born with what you have, and that's all you'll ever get. So how does it get stronger? By making those existing cells bigger, thicker, and more powerful. It's like taking the same crew of workers and teaching them not just to carry bricks, but to carry entire slabs of concrete. The job doesn't change, but their ability to handle it does. That process is called hypertrophy, and I remember the first time I really understood what it meant for the heart. It wasn't just about size, it was about efficiency. A larger, stronger heart can pump more blood with each beat. That means fewer beats are needed to keep the body running, which is why trained athletes often have lower resting heart rates. The numbers stunned me. I read about an Olympic endurance athlete whose heart was so well adapted that his resting heart rate dropped to 27 beats per minute. At first, it sounded like a medical emergency, but in reality, it was the ultimate sign of strength. His heart had become so efficient it could supply his entire body with fewer than half the beats of a normal heart. But the heart doesn't stop at growing thicker muscle fibers. That's only the beginning of the story. With consistent training, especially endurance workouts like running or cycling, the heart builds more mitochondria inside its cells. I used to joke in biology class that the mitochondria were the powerhouses of the cell, but I never fully appreciated what that meant until I started connecting it to the heart. More mitochondria means more energy. It means the heart can keep contracting forcefully without wearing out. It means that during a long run or a high-intensity workout, your heart is producing the fuel it needs right where it needs it. And then there's another incredible adaptation, angiogenesis. That's a fancy word I didn't pay much attention to until I realized how much it matters. It's the growth of new blood vessels. Think about that. The heart doesn't just make its muscles stronger, it actually upgrades its own supply system. More capillaries form around the cardiac muscle fibers, delivering more oxygen and nutrients, removing more waste, and creating a network that supports this stronger, more energetic organ. It's like expanding the highways and side roads to feed a growing city. Everything becomes more connected, more efficient, more capable. When I learned all this, I felt both awe and a sense of responsibility, because here's the truth. These changes don't just happen randomly. They only happen when you give your heart a reason to adapt. That reason is exercise. Without it, the heart has no incentive to grow stronger. It keeps doing the minimum it needs to survive. And while that might be enough for a while, it's a missed opportunity. Because with training, you're not just surviving, you're upgrading. I remember the first time I noticed a change in my own body. I had been running consistently for several months, and one morning I checked my resting heart rate. It had dropped by almost 10 beats per minute compared to where I started. At first I thought it was a mistake, but the more I checked, the more I realized it was real. My heart didn't need to work as hard anymore. It was pumping more blood with each beat, and that meant it could slow down and still do its job. That small number on my fitness watch was a quiet but powerful sign that my heart was transforming. And it was proof that the science I had been reading about wasn't just theory, it was happening inside me. The comparison between a trained and untrained heart is what really drives the point home. An untrained person at peak exercise might push their heart to pump 13 to 15 litres of blood per minute. That's impressive, and it's a huge jump from the resting output of around 5 litres. But then you look at an elite athlete and the numbers go off the charts, 30 to 40 litres per minute. That's not just stronger, that's an entirely different level of human performance. And while not all of us will reach those extremes, the message is clear. The heart adapts as much as you train it. I think about this every time I lace up my shoes for a run. I don't just see it as exercise anymore. I see it as a conversation with my heart. Each mile I put in is me asking it to rise to the challenge. And each time it responds by getting a little stronger, a little more efficient, a little more prepared for the next test. That relationship changes the way I feel about my workouts. They're not punishments, not chores, but chances to give my heart exactly what it craves, a reason to adapt. The more I learn, the more I realize how miraculous this process is. We often think of the body as fragile, but the truth is it's built to change. The heart is proof of that. It doesn't just endure stress, it thrives on it. It grows bigger, builds more energy factories, creates new pathways for blood to flow. It evolves with us. And that evolution is something we can all tap into, no matter our age or fitness level. For me, understanding this has been empowering. It means I'm not at the mercy of time or fate when it comes to my heart health. I can play an active role in shaping the strength of the very muscle that keeps me alive. And that's not just science, that's hope. Every time I step into a workout, I remind myself, this isn't just about burning calories. It's about giving my heart the chance to become more than it was yesterday. And to me, that's the most motivating reason to keep going. For the longest time, I thought of exercise as something that shaped the outside of my body. I wanted to run faster, look leaner, maybe build a little muscle. But what I've come to realize is that the real reward of consistent training isn't something you can see in the mirror. It's hidden deep inside your chest, in the quiet rhythm of your heartbeat. And once I learned to focus on that, the meaning of exercise completely changed for me. One of the simplest ways to measure progress isn't with a scale or a stopwatch, but with something far less dramatic, your resting heart rate. At first, I didn't believe this could be a true marker of fitness, but over time, I saw it play out in my own life. When I first started training, my resting heart rate hovered around 70 beats per minute. A few months later, after consistent runs and strength workouts, it dropped closer to 60. That number told a story I could feel but couldn't always explain. My heart had grown stronger. It didn't need to work as hard to deliver the same amount of blood. And the best part was I could feel the difference not just in workouts but in daily life. Walking upstairs, carrying groceries, even just sitting at my desk. Everything felt easier, smoother, lighter. That was the first time I truly understood what it means to train your heart. It's not about punishing yourself with miles or reps. It's about creating a partnership with the very muscle that keeps you alive. And the reward is energy you can carry into every part of your life. When I think about the heart adapting to exercise, I picture it like a craftsman upgrading his tools. With each workout, it forges new pathways of blood vessels, adds more mitochondria, and builds stronger muscle fibers. The result isn't just a bigger engine, it's a smarter one. It learns to do more with less effort. That's why athletes can sustain incredible workloads without breaking down, and why everyday people like me can feel dramatic changes after months of consistent training. But the beauty of it is that this transformation isn't reserved for elite athletes. It belongs to anyone willing to put in the work. The body doesn't discriminate. If you give your heart a reason to adapt, it will. And I find that thought deeply inspiring, because so often we look at health and fitness as something reserved for people with special genetics or endless time. But the truth is, the most powerful change happens on the inside, quietly, beat by beat. And that change is available to everyone. For me, one of the most profound lessons has been realizing that exercise doesn't weaken the heart. It strengthens it. This goes against so much of what I once believed. I used to think pushing myself too hard would wear my heart down. But the science, and my own experience, prove the opposite. The heart thrives under pressure. It's built to respond to challenges. Every hill you climb, every sprint you finish, every weight you lift, it's all an invitation for the heart to get better at its job. And over time, it always does. That shift in perspective has changed how I see not just workouts, but life itself. We all face challenges, and often our first instinct is to avoid them, fearing they'll break us down. But the heart teaches a different lesson. It shows that the very stress we resist is often what makes us stronger. Exercise is a controlled way of embracing that stress, and the reward is a heart that can endure, recover, and thrive. I find that lesson applies everywhere. In work, in relationships, in personal growth. Just as the heart adapts, so can we. I also think about longevity. We often hear about people living longer thanks to modern medicine. But what about living better? To me, a strong heart is the foundation of that. It's not just about adding years to life, but adding life to years. When your heart works efficiently, everything else benefits. Your brain, your muscles, your mood, even your resilience against illness. That's a kind of wealth that no number in a bank account can replace. I remember once hearing someone say, "Your heart is the only muscle that never rests, so you owe it the respect of training it well." That line has stuck with me. It's easy to get caught up in superficial goals. But at the end of the day, nothing matters more than how well your heart performs. That's the muscle carrying you through every moment of your life. To neglect it is to miss the chance to live fully. That's why now, whenever I feel tired or unmotivated, I remind myself, I'm not just working out for appearances. I'm training my heart to be stronger, smarter, and more resilient. I'm investing in a future where climbing a mountain in my 60s, playing with grandchildren, or simply walking without pain isn't just a dream, but a reality. Every drop of sweat becomes a deposit into that future. The fascinating part is that the heart's adaptability is almost limitless. Even if you start late in life, it responds. Even small amounts of consistent movement trigger positive change. I've seen friends who began exercising in their 50s notice their resting heart rate drop, their energy rise, and their confidence return. It proves that it's never too late to train your heart. So when I look back now, I realize the real story of exercise isn't about sculpting a body or chasing numbers. It's about listening to that steady rhythm inside your chest and giving it the challenges it craves. Because in return, the heart rewards you with something priceless, a longer, stronger, fuller life. Every time I finish a workout, I like to pause for a moment and feel my pulse. It's a reminder that my heart isn't just surviving, it's thriving, and I can't think of a better reason to keep moving forward, one beat at a time. Looking back at everything I've learned, I realize the heart is more than just an organ. It's a teacher. It shows us that resilience isn't about avoiding stress, but embracing it in the right way. For years, I thought of the heart as fragile, something that needed protection from strain. But what I now understand is that the heart thrives when challenged. It grows stronger, more efficient, and more capable with every test we give it. That's a powerful reminder that strength in life often comes through pressure, not in the absence of it. The most eye-opening lesson for me is how adaptable the heart really is. It can't create new muscle cells, but it can make the ones it has larger, tougher, and more efficient. It builds new mitochondria, generates new blood vessels, and upgrades itself like a living machine. That image has changed how I see exercise forever. I don't just run or lift weights to stay in shape. I do it to give my heart the gift of becoming stronger. Each workout is an act of investment, a way of preparing for the years ahead when I'll want my heart to carry me through adventures, challenges, and everyday joys. From a personal perspective, this understanding has shifted my motivation. There are days when I don't feel like exercising, but then I think about my resting heart rate dropping, about the incredible efficiency of an athlete's heart, about the fact that I can shape one of the most vital organs in my body through consistent effort. And suddenly, skipping a workout feels like skipping an opportunity to build a better version of myself. That mindset has been transformative. The deeper lesson, though, is not just about biology, it's about life itself. The heart proves that growth comes through struggle. Just as it becomes stronger by being pushed, we too become stronger when we embrace challenges. Instead of fearing difficulty, we can see it as an opportunity for adaptation. That perspective makes setbacks feel different. They're not failures. They're training sessions for resilience. So my takeaway is simple but profound. Take care of your heart, and it will take care of you. Not just in the literal sense of keeping you alive, but in the deeper sense of teaching you how to live. Respect it with movement, challenge it with exercise, and in return, it will reward you with endurance, energy, and the possibility of a longer, richer life. Now I want to turn it over to you. What's one small step you can take today to give your heart a reason to grow stronger? It doesn't have to be extreme. Maybe it's a walk, a jog, or a workout you've been putting off. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you're planning to invest in your own heart health. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to The Wellness Way. Your support not only keeps this channel alive, but also motivates us to keep creating content that inspires, educates, and helps you unlock the best version of yourself. Together, let's keep moving forward, one beat at a time.